Commander Vance Thorne stared through the energy barrier at the alien warlord who had slaughtered thousands of his people. Callista Vex sat cross-legged on the detention cell floor, her obsidian-scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights of the Terran battleship Invictus. Despite her restraints and injuries, she maintained a regal posture that radiated power. "Your forces have been crushed," Vance said, his voice echoing in the sterile chamber. "The Dominion has disavowed you. No ransom demands, no negotiation requests." He studied her four amber eyes, searching for fear or hatred, but finding neither. "Do you understand what that means?" Callista tilted her crested head. "It means I am dead already, Commander." Her voice was surprisingly melodic for a being with such fearsome appearance. "My failure cannot be forgiven." "Then why fight so hard to surrender? You could have died gloriously in battle." Vance's hand unconsciously touched the fresh scar that ran from his temple to his jaw, her parting gift from their hand-to-hand combat. "Because death would be inefficient." Callista rose to her full height, nearly 7 feet of lethal grace. "I have a proposal that serves us both." Lieutenant Rios stepped forward protectively. "Sir, I advise against." Vance raised his hand, silencing her. "I'm curious, what could you possibly offer?" "Our species have warred for generations, yet neither prevails completely." "No, why?" Callista's lower set of eyes narrowed. "Because your human unpredictability counters our superior strength. You adapt where we cannot." She approached the barrier, close enough that Vance could see the intricate patterns etched into her ceremonial armor. "My bloodline is engineered for dominance, Commander. 17 generations of selective breeding for combat excellence." "You're saying you're special even among your kind?" Vance's tone remained skeptical, but he couldn't deny his fascination. Callista pressed her palm against the barrier, causing it to shimmer. "Marry me, human. I will bear your children. They will carry the strength of my lineage and the adaptive will of yours." Her voice lowered to a whisper. "They could unite what neither of us could conquer." A stunned silence fell over the room. Rios and the security team exchanged alarmed glances. "This is absurd," Vance finally said, though without the conviction he intended. "A biological alliance? Your people would never accept such offspring." "My people have abandoned me," Callista replied, her voice carrying an unexpected vulnerability. "But they respect power above all. Children of our union would possess unprecedented abilities. They would be feared." Then followed. Vance turned away, conflicted. The logical part of his mind screamed this was manipulation, the desperate ploy of a cornered predator. Yet something in her intensity seemed genuine. "Sir," Rios insisted, "High Command expects her execution within 48 hours. This is clearly a delaying tactic." Callista's multi-toned laugh cut through the tension. "If delay was my goal, I would offer you technological secrets, not my womb." Despite himself, Vance felt a smile tug at his lips. In 15 years of conflict, he'd never encountered an adversary quite like her. He'd expected to find a monster in this cell. Instead, he'd found something far more dangerous. An idea. "You'll remain under guard while I consider this unusual proposal," he said finally. As he turned to leave, Callista called after him. "Commander, the universe rarely offers second chances. This could end a war that has consumed millions." Vance paused at the doorway, not looking back. "Or it could create something worse than either of us." "Yes," she agreed softly. "That is always the risk of creation." The door sealed behind him, but Vance knew with absolute certainty that this encounter had already changed everything. Outside in the corridor, stars streaked past the viewports as the Invictus carried them toward an uncertain future, one that might now hold possibilities beyond endless war. The whispers followed them through the gleaming corridors of Earth's Central Command. Vance felt every stare, heard every muttered accusation as he escorted Callista through the facility. Her obsidian scales absorbed the artificial light, making her seem like a walking shadow beside him. "Your people fear me," Callista observed, her lower set of eyes scanning the armed guards flanking them while her upper eyes remained fixed on Vance. "Can you blame them? The scourge of Arcturus is walking freely among us." Vance kept his voice low. "The only reason you're here as a diplomatic guest instead of a prisoner awaiting execution is because I vouched for you with my career." Admiral Hawthorne waited in the conference chamber, her weathered face a mask of barely contained fury. "Commander Thorne, you've exceeded your authority by several light years." With respect, Admiral, I'm pursuing an opportunity to end this war. Vance stood at parade rest, unflinching. The Dominion abandoned Warlord Vex. We can exploit this rift. Hawthorne's gaze shifted to Callista. And you expect us to believe this arrangement is anything but a ploy. Callista stepped forward, her movement fluid despite the restraint collar around her neck. My species is pragmatic above all, Admiral. The war has reached equilibrium, costly for both sides with no clear victor emerging. Evolution demands adaptation. By breeding with our kind, Hawthorne's disgust was palpable. By creating something greater than either, Callista replied evenly. My bloodline carries genetic memories going back 17 generations. Our seers foresaw this union centuries ago, a human with the scorched mark. She gestured to Vance's distinctive scar. The prophecy is why I sought personal combat with the commander. Later, in the private quarters assigned to them, Vance confronted her. You never mentioned any prophecy before. Callista sat cross-legged on the floor, ignoring the human furniture. Would you have believed me in that cell? You barely believe me now. I don't know what I believe. Vance paced the room, keeping his distance. Despite everything, he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward her, something primal and inexplicable. My superiors think I'm compromised. Half my crew believes you've somehow enthralled me. Perhaps I have. A smile played across Callista's alien features. My species releases pheromones when we select potential mates. Vance froze. Are you manipulating me chemically? Callista rose in one fluid motion, approaching him. The pheromones only enhance existing attraction, Commander. They cannot create what isn't there. She stopped inches from him. Tell me to leave, and I will accept my execution without resistance. Their eyes locked in silent challenge. Vance knew he should step back, maintain professional distance, but found himself unable to move. The joining of our species requires biological compatibility, she continued softly. My kind can adapt our reproductive systems, but the process has begun and cannot be reversed. I'm already changing for you, Vance Thorne. His name on her lips sent an unexpected surge through him. This is insane. Yes, she agreed, reaching up to trace the line of his scar with one clawed finger. All great changes begin with madness. The proximity alarm shattered the moment. Vance checked the security panel. We're being summoned to emergency council. The Dominion has issued a statement about you. Callista's expression hardened. They've declared me Varshal blood traitor, the highest condemnation. She straightened her shoulders. It means they fear what we propose. As they walked side by side toward the council chambers, Vance realized they had crossed an invisible threshold. Whatever happened next, there would be no returning to the simplicity of being merely enemies. They will try to kill us both now, Callista said matter-of-factly. Vance found himself reaching for her hand, her scales cool against his skin. Then we'll just have to survive together. The attack came during the planet-side diplomatic reception. Vance spotted the shimmer of active camouflage too late. The Dominion assassin was already lunging toward Callista with ceremonial death blades drawn. Vex, Vance shouted, throwing himself between them. Pain exploded across his chest as the poisoned blade sliced through his formal uniform. He fired his sidearm point-blank into the assassin's torso, collapsing as security forces swarmed the room. Through darkening vision, he saw Callista dispatching a second attacker with terrifying efficiency, her movements a blur of lethal precision. The blades are coated with nerve toxin, he heard her telling the medical team as they lifted him onto a stretcher. Human physiology will reject conventional treatments. You need. Stay with her, Vance managed before unconsciousness claimed him. He awoke 3 days later in the medical bay. Callista sat beside his bed, her normally immaculate scales dulled with fatigue. 4 small puncture marks on her arm suggested recent medical procedures. What happened? He asked, his throat raw. You nearly died, she replied simply. My blood contains antibodies effective against Dominion toxins. The human doctors were reluctant to attempt the transfusion. Vance struggled to sit up. You gave me your blood. A fair exchange. You gave your body for mine. Her 4 eyes studied him with an intensity that made his skin warm. The Council has granted me provisional asylum in light of the assassination attempt. The Dominion's actions confirmed my defection was genuine. That night, released to his quarters with Callista as his protective detail, the last barriers between them fell. Her touch was both alien and familiar, her dual heartbeats creating rhythms against his chest that seemed to resonate through him. Their joining was tender yet primal, a bridge across species never meant to connect. Afterward, tracing the bioluminescent patterns that had emerged across her scales, Vance finally asked the question that had haunted him since their first meeting. "Why me, Callista, of all the humans you could have chosen?" She placed his hand against her abdomen. "Because only you would ask that question instead of assuming you knew the answer." Her eyes glowed softly in the darkness. "And because it is already done, I carry your offspring." The news of Callista's pregnancy spread through both governments like wildfire. Protesters gathered outside the compound, some supporting the unprecedented union, others demanding its termination. Scientists clamored for access to study the hybrid embryo, while religious leaders from both species declared it either an abomination or a miracle. Admiral Hawthorne summoned them to her private office, her expression grave. "The Joint Chiefs want to place you both in protective custody. The embryo would be monitored under military supervision." "You mean dissected?" Callista growled, her protective instincts flaring. "This child is not an experiment," Vance stated firmly, "nor is it a weapon." Hawthorne sighed. "Then what is it, Commander?" Vance exchanged a look with Callista before answering. "The future, Admiral, one neither of our kinds can stop." As they returned to their quarters, Vance received a cryptic message from an old friend now stationed on Haven, a neutral colony world beyond both governments' direct control. "We need to leave tonight," he told Callista, already packing essential supplies. "There are people who will help us." Callista nodded, one hand resting protectively over her womb. "Then we go. This child will be born free of both our empire's chains." Haven Colony existed in the shadow of a gas giant, its atmosphere rendered breathable through generations of terraforming. Its population, a mix of human separatists and various alien refugees, prized independence above all else. The perfect sanctuary for two fugitives whose union threatened the status quo of galactic politics. Professor Eldon Gray welcomed them to his compound with open arms. A former xenobiologist for Earth Fleet, he'd retired to Haven after his research into cross-species genetic compatibility had been classified, then buried. "You've achieved what I theorized was possible," he told them, examining Callista's medical scans with undisguised fascination. "The embryo shows perfect integration of both genetic structures, something I was told was impossible." "Is the child healthy?" Vance asked, the only question that mattered to him now. "Remarkably so, and developing at an accelerated rate." Eldon adjusted his spectacles. "I estimate gestation will complete in 4 months rather than the usual 7 for Callista's species or 9 for humans." Their presence on Haven attracted others, dissidents and moderates from both civilizations who saw in their union hope for something beyond endless conflict. Callista's former lieutenant, Drax, arrived with a contingent of exiled warriors still loyal to her. Commander Jaina Wolf, Vance's academy friend, brought a group of human scientists and diplomats who believed in coexistence. A community formed around them, a microcosm of what could be possible on a larger scale. Yet even as their sanctuary grew, so did the threats against them. "Both the Dominion Council and Earth's military cabinet have officially condemned us," Jaina reported during their strategy meeting. "They're calling it biological terrorism, claiming any offspring could destabilize the genetic purity of both species." "The old powers always fear what they cannot control," Drax rumbled, his warrior caste markings similar to Callista's but less elaborate. "They would rather continue a war that devastates both sides than risk a peace that diminishes their authority." Callista, her abdomen now visibly swollen with new life, addressed the gathered allies. "For generations, my kind has believed strength comes only from dominance. Humans believed it came from technological innovation. Both were wrong." She reached for Vance's hand. "True strength comes from adaptation, from becoming something new when the old ways fail." That night, lying together in their quarters, Vance felt the powerful movements of their child. "She's restless tonight," he murmured against Callista's neck. "She senses the coming conflict," Callista replied, guiding his hand to where their daughter kicked most forcefully. "Even unborn, she prepares to fight. I wanted to give her a world without war." Callista's 4 eyes held ancient wisdom. "Then we must create one, my mate, starting here." The attack came at dawn. a joint strike force of human and Dominion special operatives, united in their mission to eliminate the genetic abomination before its birth could challenge the established order. As Haven's defensive shields activated, Vance looked out over the assembled community that had formed around their forbidden union, humans and aliens working side by side, protecting a future neither government wanted but both desperately needed. "They fear us because we've proven cooperation is possible," he told Callista as they prepared for battle. "That makes us more dangerous than any weapon." Callista, magnificent in her ceremonial battle armor modified to accommodate her pregnancy, nodded. "Then let us show them exactly how dangerous hope can be." The siege of Haven lasted 12 days. 12 days of desperate fighting, of unlikely alliances forged in combat, of moments where defeat seemed certain until someone, human or alien, would find unexpected courage. On the 13th day, as the colony's shields began to fail, Callista went into labor. "Your timing is questionable," Vance told his unborn daughter as he helped Callista to the medical facility, explosions illuminating the sky above them. "She comes when she is needed," Callista replied through gritted teeth, her normally composed features contorted with pain. "Like her father." Professor Gray and his medical team worked feverishly, while Vance divided his attention between the birth and the battle reports coming through his comm unit. The combined assault force had breached the outer perimeter. Drax and Jaina were leading the final defense at the central plaza, but they couldn't hold much longer. "Commander," Gray called urgently, "you need to see this." Vance approached the birthing chamber where Callista lay exhausted but triumphant. In her arms squirmed a tiny figure, skin a pale violet with subtle scaling, 4 eyes that shifted between Callista's amber and Vance's steel blue, tiny hands with the suggestion of claws that might one day develop. "She's perfect," he whispered, reaching out to touch his daughter's cheek. The infant grasped his finger with surprising strength. At that exact moment, every electronic system in the facility surged. Lights brightened to blinding intensity before stabilizing. The comm units emitted a harmonious tone that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in the mind. "What just happened?" Vance asked, looking from his daughter to Gray. The professor was staring at his instruments in disbelief. "She's emitting a psionic field unlike anything I've ever recorded. It appears to be interfacing with our technology." Outside, the sounds of battle had mysteriously ceased. Jaina's voice came through the comm, breathless with amazement. "Vance, you won't believe this. They've stopped fighting. Both sides, they're just standing down." Later, they would learn that at the moment of her birth, their daughter had projected a psionic pulse that temporarily linked the minds of all combatants. For one brief second, humans experienced the collective memory of the Dominion warriors, while the aliens felt the individual dreams and hopes of each human soldier. Neither side could continue fighting after sharing such intimate knowledge of the other. They named her Aurora, Dawn of a New Age. Within weeks, diplomatic envoys from both governments arrived at Haven, no longer demanding the child's surrender but requesting dialogue. The colony became neutral ground where centuries of conflict began the slow, painful process of resolution. 5 years later, Vance stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station, watching shuttles arrive from across the galaxy for Aurora's naming ceremony. Below, his daughter played with children of both species, her laughter carrying across the garden. Callista joined him, her ceremonial armor replaced with the formal diplomatic robes of her new position as Envoy of Unity. "The Dominion Council has ratified the Coexistence Treaty," she informed him. "The last of the hardliners have accepted the inevitable." Vance pulled her close, still marveling at how natural their union had become. "And Earth. Your president will sign at today's ceremony." She smiled, revealing teeth that remained decidedly predatory despite her peaceful role. "Our daughter can be very persuasive." As if hearing her name, Aurora looked up at them, her 4 eyes glowing with an intelligence that seemed to encompass worlds of possibility. Around her neck hung the medallion that combined both their lineages. The ceremonial crest of Callista's warrior ancestors merged with the stars and olive branches of Earth's peacekeeping forces. "We created something greater than ourselves," Vance murmured, echoing Callista's words from that first meeting in his detention cell. "No," Callista corrected, watching as Aurora demonstrated to her playmates how to build a bridge across a small stream. We merely opened the door. She will be the one to truly unite our worlds. Around them, the station hummed with the energy of two civilizations learning to coexist, still awkward, still uncertain, but finally moving forward together. It was enough. It was everything. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.